Have you ever wondered, what makes a man truly respect a woman? Not just admire her appearance, not simply enjoy her company, but deeply, sincerely respect her. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, believed that the way we communicate reveals not just our thoughts, but our level of consciousness, our inner truth. A woman who speaks with presence, with clarity, and from her authentic self, awakens something profound in a man. Not submission, not fear, but respect. Today, we'll explore 5 powerful phrases, expressions that may seem simple on the surface, but carry a deep, energetic weight. Phrases that set boundaries, reveal strength, and connect with the deeper psyche, where true respect is born. Let's begin. The first phrase period, that doesn't work for me. Not angry, not apologetic, just clear. When a woman calmly says this, she communicates a sense of self-worth that is non-negotiable. This is a boundary, but not a wall. It says, I know myself, I trust myself, and I won't betray myself to be liked. To a man rooted in depth, this is magnetic, because respect begins when he sees that her validation comes from within, not from him. Jung might say, this is the voice of the individuated self, the woman no longer chasing approval, but anchored in her own soul. The second phrase, I'll need to think about that. This simple pause is powerful. We live in a world of urgency where quick answers are often rewarded. But wisdom lives in the pause. When a woman says, I'll need to think about that, she claims her space to reflect. She shows she's not reactive, but conscious. This creates tension, but not conflict. It invites respect. She is showing she values her inner voice more than rushing to please. This is not coldness. It is depth. And depth commands presence. The third phrase, this is how I feel, and I don't need you to fix it. Most men are conditioned to solve problems, but not every feeling needs to be solved. When a woman names her feelings clearly without blaming or demanding, and affirms her emotional self-sufficiency, it activates something powerful in a man. It tells him, I am in touch with my emotions. I trust myself to hold them. And I'm inviting you in, not depending on you to fix me. To Jung, this is a sign of integration. The woman who owns her shadow, her emotion, her wholeness. And in doing so, she invites the man to do the same. The fourth phrase, no. Just that. No explanation, no softness, no apology. A woman who can say no with calm clarity radiates self-respect. She doesn't fear rejection. She knows that saying yes when she means no is a betrayal of her soul. To a conscious man, this is rare and deeply respected. Jung would call this the integration of the animus, the inner masculine strength that allows a woman to hold her ground without losing her warmth. The fifth phrase, I trust myself. Perhaps the most powerful phrase of all. A woman who trusts herself doesn't need to control others. She doesn't manipulate. She doesn't chase. She simply moves from an inner knowing. This creates safety, not because she needs to be protected, but because her presence is grounded. It invites a man to rise, not to save her, but to meet her. Jung might say, this is the self in harmony. A woman connected to her inner wisdom awakens the same potential in those around her. And that commands true respect. These phrases are not tricks. They are not lines to memorize. They are reflections of an inner journey, of knowing your worth, your emotions, your truth. When spoken from an authentic place, they become portals of transformation, not just in how others see you, but in how you see yourself. Because when you speak from your center, the world listens, and respect becomes inevitable. Sometimes, a man and a woman look into each other's eyes, and yet they don't really see one another. They see their wounds, their longings, their projections. Carl Jung taught us that the first spark of attraction is often not love, but a reflection of what we unconsciously crave. A man sees in a woman the soul he's forgotten. A woman sees in a man the strength she's been searching for. But what they're really seeing is a piece of themselves. Real love begins not when we fall in love, but when the projection starts to fade, when the fantasy dissolves, when the illusion cracks open, when what's left is two people, raw, flawed, real. That's where the true relationship begins, or ends. A woman who is truly respected by a man does not shout to be heard. She doesn't bend to fit his image. She doesn't give herself away to keep the peace. She remains rooted in herself, like a mountain in the wind. Still, present, unapologetically whole. Not perfect, but integrated. This kind of presence commands respect without ever demanding it. It is not loud. It is not harsh. It simply is. She knows who she is, not because someone told her, but because she has met herself in her own silence, in her own grief, in her own joy. And from that place, she does not chase love. She becomes love. Jung spoke of the anima and animus, the inner feminine within a man, the inner masculine within a woman. A man cannot truly meet a woman until he has met the feminine within himself. Her softness will frighten him if he hasn't touched his own vulnerability. Her depth will confuse him if he's only lived on the surface. Likewise, a woman must come to know the strength within her, not borrowed from others, but grown from within. Then, she does not need to seek wholeness in a man. She brings her own. Two people who have met themselves deeply can meet each other clearly, not in illusion, but in presence. When a man meets a woman who respects herself, he begins to see a mirror, not a mirror of his ego, but of his potential. She doesn't try to change him. She doesn't tolerate what wounds her. She simply exists in her clarity, and through her presence, he is faced with a choice: to rise or to run. And if he chooses to rise, it is not because she demanded it, but because he remembered something sacred within himself. To truly love a woman means to listen to her soul, not just her words. It means seeing her not as something to win, but as a world to understand. It means accepting that she will not always be soft. Sometimes she will be storm. But even in her storm, there is truth. Even in her silence, there is a language. And it takes a man of depth, of grounded strength, to stay steady in the presence of a woman's truth. Not to fix it, not to silence it, but to hold space for it. Respect in love is not built on control or fear or perfection. It is built on presence. When a woman respects herself, she teaches others how to meet her, not by force, not by demands, but by the way she walks through the world, unfolded, unhidden, unafraid. There is something deeply magnetic about a woman who no longer seeks validation, because she has already given it to herself. Her peace becomes power. Her boundaries become an invitation, not to prove something, but to meet her in truth. A relationship where both people see each other, not through filters, but through truth, is rare. It asks for courage. It asks for shadow work. It asks for surrender. But if you can meet there, you will find something that doesn't fade. Not intensity, but intimacy. Not possession, but connection. Not fantasy, but soul. There will be moments of rupture, of doubt, of distance, But when two people are committed to growing not just together, but also inwardly, every crack becomes an opening. Every challenge becomes a mirror. Every silence becomes a prayer. A sacred relationship is not free of pain. It is just willing to move through it, with eyes open and hearts awake. As Jung said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. So ask yourself, who are you becoming in love? Are you being invited to expand or to shrink? Are you losing yourself or returning to yourself? Because true love, deep love, is not about completing each other. It's about remembering who you are in the presence of another. And that is sacred. There is a sacred tension between the masculine and the feminine, not a battle, but a dance. And yet, so many relationships fall into struggle because we've forgotten how to dance. We imitate love we've seen in stories, in parents, in wounded patterns we've never questioned. We act out roles instead of showing up as ourselves. But true intimacy is not built on performance. It's born from presence. Carl Jung reminded us that the inner masculine and feminine are not enemies. They are complements, each seeking integration, each seeking wholeness. When a man feels lost in the chaos of the world, it is often the feminine within him that knows the way back. Not through logic, but through feeling, through intuition, through surrender. And when a woman is hardened by pain, by betrayal, by the need to survive, it is often the masculine within her that gives her spine, not to fight, but to stand, to speak, to protect what is sacred. We need both, and so do our relationships. In a conscious relationship, the goal is not to avoid triggers. It's to allow them to show you what is still unresolved inside. Your partner is not your enemy. They are your mirror. And sometimes they will reflect things you don't want to see. Your fears, your anger, your childhood wounds. But if you can stay with it, if you can stay with something miraculous happens. The relationship becomes a path of transformation. Love becomes less about getting and more about growing. And healing doesn't just happen alone. It happens in connection. Every conflict becomes a doorway. Every disagreement becomes a chance to listen more deeply, not just to the other, but to your own inner world. Imagine a woman who is deeply connected to her own truth. She does not rush. She does not perform. She moves slowly, deliberately. She does not offer her energy to those who cannot meet it. And imagine a man who is deeply rooted in his own center. He is not shaken by emotion. He does not fear depth. He knows how to listen, not just with ears, but with presence. Now imagine what happens when these two meet. There is no chasing. There is no proving. There is simply meeting. Not to possess, not to fix, but to witness. There is respect in every glance. There is space in every silence. There is safety, not in certainty, but in truth. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." This is true in love. So many of us repeat cycles of heartbreak and confusion, not because we're broken, but because we've never paused to examine the blueprint we're carrying. Whose love did you learn first? What did it teach you about safety? About worth? About being seen? To love consciously is to become aware of this map, and then to choose. Do I want to keep walking the same path? Or will I draw a new one? Not all of us had healthy examples, but all of us have the power to create new ones. And that creation begins with awareness, with asking different questions, with making new choices. with becoming the partner we've longed to find. When you stop trying to be the person someone wants and start becoming who you truly are, you begin to attract something different. Someone who doesn't want to tame you, but to walk beside you. Someone who isn't afraid of your depth, because they've met their own. This kind of connection does not always arrive quickly. It is not always dramatic or loud, but it is steady, clear, alive. It feels like breath, like coming home, like a silence that speaks more than words. It brings peace, not because it's perfect, but because it's real. And in that realness, something deep within us softens. We feel safe enough to be seen, to be known, to be loved, not despite our truth, but because of it. In the end, love is not something we find outside. It's something we uncover within, and then learn to share. The more whole you become, the less you need someone to fill the gaps. And from that place, you can finally love without fear, without control, without the old story playing in the background. This is the work. This is the gift. This is the path of conscious love. And it begins, as Jung taught us, by going inward, not to escape the world, but to learn how to truly meet it, and the people in it, with open eyes, steady hands, and an honest heart. You are not too much. You are not too deep. You are not too emotional or too quiet or too sensitive. You are simply someone who feels life deeply, who longs for realness, who is ready to love from a place that is grounded and awake. And that is sacred. Leave a comment. Which of these phrases resonated with you most? And what would it feel like to speak them from your own truth? Subscribe for more reflections rooted in Jungian wisdom, emotional depth, and soulful growth. See you in the next video.